It was the spring of 1940. We lived in a small village in northern France, surrounded by rolling hills and apple orchards. Life was simple then. Chickens scratching in the yard, the smell of fresh bread drifting from the oven, the sound of church bells echoing across the fields. Children played barefoot on dusty roads, and I took long walks to school, clutching my little satchel. The world felt safe and endless. But then the planes came. At first, they were only distant dots in the sky, silver specks glinting in the sunlight. Then, little by little, the distant hum grew into a roar, and the ground beneath our feet began to tremble. Father came home pale as a ghost, his cap clenched in his hands. He told Mama to keep a suitcase packed, bread, a blanket, and our precious family photographs, just in case. I watched as he packed that old brown suitcase, his hands trembling so much he could barely fold the blanket. I didn't understand fully, but the air in the room grew heavy with fear. Mama tried to smile at me, but her eyes were wet, and her fingers fumbled as she tied my braids. Even as a child, I knew something was ending, and something terrible was beginning. Then came the night of the siren. It screamed through the village like a monster waking from a nightmare. The sound cut through the dark sky, rising and falling, louder than anything I'd ever heard. Mama grabbed my hand so hard it hurt and pulled me down to the cellar. It was damp and smelled of potatoes, earth, and coal dust. We crouched low on the cold stones, a single candle flickering between us, shadows dancing across the rough walls. Above us, heavy boots stomping, shouts in German echoing like thunder, doors slamming somewhere on our street. I pressed my face against Mama's shoulder, holding my breath, trying not to cry. Every creak of the house above us felt like the end. When dawn came, our street looked different, like a photograph left out in the rain. Windows shattered, walls scarred by shrapnel, and our old oak tree in the yard scorched black. Soldiers patrolled the village with rifles slung across their backs, their boots leaving deep prints in the mud. We had to line up for ration cards every week. Bread grew smaller and thinner until it was only a crust for each of us. Hunger became our companion, a hollow ache in the belly and a quiet shadow in every home. Yet neighbors helped each other. Eggs traded for carrots, scraps of cloth exchanged for a spoonful of sugar, whispered words of kindness passed over fences. I didn't know then, but Father was quietly helping people move messages along the railway lines at night. Sometimes I would wake and see him by the doorway, his cap pulled low, a small folded note tucked into his coat. Mama always pretended it was nothing, but her hands trembled until he came home. The war taught me early about secrets, about danger, and about the quiet bravery of ordinary people. Then, one bright August afternoon in 1944, the sound of engines filled the air again. But this time it was different. The air didn't carry dread, it carried hope. People ran into the streets, waving flags, crying and cheering. Allied tanks rolled in, their tracks clanking on the cobblestones. Soldiers smiled and handed out chocolate and chewing gum. Someone leaned from a window and played music on an old gramophone, and the melody floated through the warm air like a promise. Mama wept openly, clutching my hand so tightly we both shook. That was the day I tasted chocolate for the first time. Sweet, rich, unforgettable. After years of fear and hunger, that taste felt like freedom itself. It melted on my tongue, and for a moment the war vanished. and I felt like a child again. Now, decades later, I still close my eyes and hear the siren. I still smell the damp cellar, the candle wax, the potatoes stored in wooden crates. I still feel my mother's trembling hand gripping mine. War stole my childhood, but it also showed me how strong ordinary people can be, how they endure, how they help one another, how they rebuild when everything is broken. Please remember our stories. Please pass them on. These memories must never fade. If you felt my story in your heart, share it with others. Keep the memory alive. Thank you for listening, my dears. Oh, hello, my dears. Come closer and listen. I want to tell you about the time I was just a little girl, hiding in a cold, dark cellar while soldiers' boots thundered over my head. This is my true story of fear, hunger, courage, and the day I first tasted freedom. Before I begin, please show an old grandma some love. Tap that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with your friends and family so these memories never fade. Every time you do, you help keep our stories alive for the next generation.